Hello, everyone. It's been a couple weeks since I've done a sermon scraps, so I wanted to come with a couple more thoughts and comments on Psalm 19. So yesterday we had our first family Sunday together, which I thought was really fun, having some different noise and some different responses to various parts of the message. I did get a text from someone who took a picture of the sunset holding up their honey straws. So I hope you enjoyed the honey straws and used them as a reminder and an opportunity to worship, honor, and glorify God. Karen and I ran outside as the thunderstorm came through, and it was a joy just seeing all the downpour coming through and the dark clouds, listening to the thunder. It's always just impressive hearing and seeing something like the weather like that. Psalm 19 is one of my favorite psalms, and I think it's just a regular reminder that everything in creation is meant to point us to God. The skies, the trees, they're all meant to serve as a testimony of His purposes and His planning. One of the phrases that I've talked about regularly, I didn't bring this up yesterday, but I was thinking it's kind of in the back of my mind as I was preparing this sermon, is taken from the Westminster Shorter Catechism. I feel like in response to a lot of the, I'll say, dead liturgy or rote repetition that many people, generation above me, grew up with, we kind of got away from a lot of the helpful historical liturgical elements in the churches for more free expressions. So the Westminster Shorter Catechism was written in 1646 as a way to train and help people think and approach the world theologically. So I've shared this before. The first question in there is, what is the chief end of man? The answer is to glorify God and enjoy Him forever. The glorifying piece is what we see in Psalm 19, worshiping, honoring, praising, glorifying God through everything we do. The enjoying piece, I think, is one that is a lot harder for us to get our minds around, to be honest. At least growing up, I believe those two things were in contradiction to each other. And I think, honestly, a lot of us view obedience to God as the opposite of what we would say as the good life. And I even believed that for a while as I was growing up, too. But I think some of that is like, if you look at cultural Christianity of the past, 100+ years, we view our Christian faith through like this super serious lens. Like there's no, I remember I was playing cards one time at my grandma's house with my dad. I think we were playing like Go Fish or Solitaire or something like that. And my grandma walked out and said, "Oh boy, I wasn't allowed to play those growing up." And so like just these hyper legalistic rules. And like I think they do come from good intentions of wanting to honor and praise God, to not fall into sin. But why is it that I've been reading some books on the Sabbath recently, and just trying to think through what is the point and purpose of Sabbath in our lives as New Testament believers today. And even most people's approach to Sabbath are very legalistic and regimented, when Sabbath is meant to be a time of enjoyment, of glorifying and honoring God with everything that we do. And I think even this twists and distorts some of the way that we read the Bible. So I was thinking of Philippians 4 in relation to this. So everyone knows Philippians 4:13. Yeah, Tim Tebow's the one that put it on his black eyeliner stuff during the football game, and everyone looked it up. It's, "I can do all things through Him who strengthens me." But you got to read it in context. So starting in verse 11, Paul says, "Not that I'm speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I'm to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance, I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger, abundance and need." And I think we have a tendency to overemphasize the excesses and neglect some of the lack of that. So like, we as Christians are called at times to fast and at times to feast. So like, even thinking through the Sabbath is meant to be a time to feast together, to eat really ridiculously good food, to enjoy relationships with your friends, with your family. Like, I think of some signs I've seen in people's houses that's like, eat much, linger long, laugh plenty. Like think those kinds of things, which is what we as Christians are called to do. There's a book that I read a while ago that had like, there's a lot of books that have like random quotes that will somehow apply or tie into the chapter itself, but just says like headers. And one of them said, a T-shirt from the '90s said, "If Jesus is in your heart, someone should notify your face." So there is lasting joy and happiness that's found in actually following Christ. Tim Keller, I've shared this quote as well before, but he says, "Happiness is found on the far side of holiness, not the near side." If you actually want true lasting happiness and joy, it is found in being obedient to the rules God has commanded us to do. Now that I said that, there is probably a couple people that would push back and say that happiness isn't in the Bible. So I've been reading someone recently on the Sermon on the Mount who argues that throughout the Sermon on the Mount, like we often translate it as Jesus' words saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of God," things like that. He argues that we should, instead of translating that Greek word blessed, we should translate that as happy. So happy is the one who finds our satisfaction, contentment in God. So believe it or not, being happy isn't antithetical to being a Christian. So God gave us rules and regulations and the creation as a way to enjoy, to actually lead us to human flourishing. So as I was growing up, I shared this before, I played basketball. I loved playing basketball. It's still my favorite sport to watch, to play when I have time. I'm wearing my Golden State Warriors NBA championship shirt today. But I often wrestle with the question, like, how do I worship God by playing basketball? And just kind of thinking through what does that look like, as using something that like I was like, I enjoy it, so it can't be something that I use as worship, and that's not at all what God has told us to do. So basketball, I can play hard. I can use the body that God gave me and equipped me to shoot. I can enjoy the sound of the shoes squeaking and the net swishing. I can enjoy the smell. Like, there's a unique smell to the hardwood floor of a gym when you walk in. And on top of that, I can even encourage the guys that I'm playing with. I can be a good teammate. Everything that we do is supposed to be an opportunity to worship and glorify God. Now, I had these things in separate camps as I was growing up. So I would think I can only worship God if I'm going to church, or I only worship God if I'm reading my Bible and praying. And those are good things that God has commanded us to do. But those other things are meant to help us understand the rest of the world that we are living in. That even reading your Bible and praying is meant to give you a greater awareness. Like one of the phrases that stood out to me in the text this week, verse 8 says, "The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes." Now remember, I said that Hebrew word pure can also be translated as radiant. So it enlightens, it gives light. You think of Psalm 119, your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. The Bible actually helps us make sense of everything that we see around us. Otherwise, we would be living in complete darkness. We wouldn't know how to make sense of the world around us. We wouldn't know what it means to honor, worship, and glorify God through everything that we do and say. And then, just to summarize all of this, the psalm ends in Psalm 14, "That the words of my mouth, the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer." So David is essentially saying, may what I say and what I think no longer be marked by sin. Essentially, David ends this psalm as a reminder for all of us to let our lives be a life of worship given to God. So that was Psalm 19. Again, it was fun having families in there. I enjoyed seeing my kids engage and respond. Kara told me last night when I was talking about reading the Bible can be as sweet as eating honey. Calvin did this. So I hope many of you had opportunities to engage with your kids on some questions and some different things that came up through the message. Just a heads up, this next Sunday we're doing what we're going to call Sign Up Sunday. So I know everyone kind of travels and takes time off over the summer, especially it seems during the month of July. So we're going to try doing a Sign Up Sunday, just talking about some of the needs that we have in the church, and even thinking through what is it that you need to do over these next few months to continue growing closer to Christ. Maybe it is stepping up and trying to find a way to use your gifts to serve the body. Maybe it's getting involved in a small group. Maybe it's just staying with the small group that you're in. Maybe it's coming to one of the classes that we have on Sunday mornings. But what is it that you need to do to take your next step to grow more like Christ? So that will be Sign Up Sunday this coming week. So plan to just be thinking and praying through what does it mean for you to, as you kind of plan through this fall calendar, what does it mean for you to continue taking steps to grow closer to Christ? And then we'll finish up. So we'll do Psalm 18 in 2 weeks, August 14th, and then we'll do Psalm 20 on the 21st, which will mean we'll be at the end of Psalms. And then starting up the last week of August 28th, we'll be starting our fall series looking at the book of Ephesians. So that's all I have today. Hope you guys are doing well and enjoyed the honey and the rain last night. And Lord willing, we'll see you on Sunday for Sign Up Sunday.